Hi, welcome to the Mike Paige Doodle Club. I'm Mike Paige, and today, in honor of my mom, we're going to draw a gingerbread house. So grab some paper, pen or pencil, markers, whatever you've got, anything that'll make a line, and let's get right to it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. All right, to start my gingerbread house, I'm going to make a line for the roof. I'm not going to draw the house sort of looking straight on towards the door. It's going to be at a 3/4 angle, like we've turned the house slightly. So my roof line is not going to be straight across the top of the paper. It's going to be getting slightly higher as I go out towards the edge. Then the trick of making a roof at this angle is now I have to make the next line the same way. I'm going to go like this. Hopefully I can keep it parallel and about the same length. Then I'm going to connect this line. I don't want this to be very sharp here. I'm going to kind of round it off here, like that. And then we'll do the same thing. Actually, yeah, we'll do the same thing at the back here. I was debating if we're putting gumdrops or anything on top of this roof, we might not want that line there, but we'll go ahead and make it for now. Then I'm going to try to kind of match the angle that this line came at over to here, about like that. And then I'm going to come in slightly and up slightly and make another line that runs parallel all the way up like that. So this would be the eaves of the roof. Then from where I stopped right here, I'm going to go ahead and make my vertical wall. And I'm sitting at a little bit of an angle here, so I apologize if that line came out at a funny angle. Then right before this corner here, I'm going to make another vertical line. Oh boy, this one went wonky. Sorry. See if we can fix it. So one of the reasons that I don't love painting is I don't enjoy working vertically, really. I prefer working on a flat surface. So I apologize for lines that go slightly awry there. I don't typically work vertically. It's not my forte. Next we're going to bring, and guess what? I'm getting in some practice drawing vertically, so that's good. Anything that you're not great at, keep at it. You'll get it someday. So I'm going to connect those two, and then I'll do the same thing coming back this way. A lot of times I'll have kids tell me at the after-school program that I work at that they can't do something or they're not good at something. And I think no matter what your age is, it's easy to lose sight of the fact that everybody has something they're not great at. Everybody has plenty of things they're not great at. But there are things that you're not good at yet. You can get there if you work at it. So that's definitely a worthwhile thing to remember, whether you're pursuing drawing or painting or soccer. Doesn't really matter. What matters is that you're willing to put in the time and make it so that eventually you're good at it. You don't have to be perfect today. Just have to be willing to work towards tomorrow. All right, so I made 2 vertical lines for the front door. Then I'm going to make a line coming across. These 2 aren't quite at the right angle yet because I want the top of my door to be parallel to the base of my house. So about like that. So now we have our basic house built. Then we're going to start adding some frosting and candy to it and all the good stuff that makes a gingerbread house something that you're excited about as a kid, having it on your table. So I mentioned at the beginning that this episode is in honor of my mom. I was never a huge fan of gingerbread in general, but having said that, when my mom makes gingerbread, there's nothing like it. Nobody makes gingerbread as well as my mom. And it's one of the things that I actually really look forward to around the holidays, is that I know my mom is going to make gingerbread houses. And as a kid, we would get to, my sisters and I would each get our own house that she would make. And then we each got to decorate our own. It was a ton of work on my mom's part, not on ours. We just got to decorate it and eat it. But my mom put in hours getting all the dough ready, and she made them from scratch, so, which is why they were so good. So I'm adding some frosting icicles here. Because I did this in pen, there's going to be a little bit of overlap, but I'm okay with that for what I'm doing. If you're doing like a very serious gingerbread drawing at home, you might be yelling at me right now that I didn't warn you about this. I apologize. If you're using pencil, you can always lightly erase that line. And as I'm making the icicles, you can kind of vary them. So one might be a little bit longer. This was the part that when my mom would let me decorate the gingerbread house, making the icicles was always my favorite part. And I think it's because it's a detail that my mom always put onto the gingerbread houses that she made. And it was something that I was always impressed with. And anytime she was at craft shows and stuff selling gingerbread houses, everybody always commented how cool the icicles were. So that was always something that I felt like I needed on my house when I would decorate it. And it was really fun too. You're using a, what is that called? A pipette? Like a pastry bag thing. And you're just squeezing one little icicle of icing out after another. And you attach it to the roof right at the edge there. And then you squeeze a little icing out. That was always a very fun part of the process for me of decorating the house. So I'm going to speed up these icicles a little bit. Basically, we're drawing rounded off shark teeth or ice cream cones, or however you want to think of them. Whatever is easiest for your brain to wrap around. And I'm going to kind of make different sized icicles here. So you want some that hang way down from the roof and some that are shorter. Then you can come all the way back here and they'll get a little bit smaller as you get towards the back. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of do this to make the top. And then we'll just kind of, and you can leave gaps where there's no icicles as well. Really, you can decorate it however you want it. It's your gingerbread house. Don't let me tell you what to do. Could always tell when my mom was starting to make the gingerbread, because all of a sudden the whole house would smell like molasses, and it's a great childhood memory. Next, I'm going to go in and start. I'm going to mark off where I want windows. And again, horizontal lines you want running parallel to the frame of the house, and the vertical lines you want running parallel to your corner and your door. Again, sorry that this corner here wasn't the straightest line up and down. So I'm just kind of blocking in where these windows will be. And then we can start decorating with some icing and candies and all the good stuff. And if you're watching and you're familiar with gingerbread and you like gingerbread, I would love to know, on a gingerbread man, do you put raisins or not? Because that is a very divisive question right there. Everybody picks one way or the other, and one is right and one is wrong. Period. All right, so here I'm putting in a, I guess it's not a peppermint stick, but it's some kind of hard candy that'll have stripes coming across. Yours could be a peppermint stick. Brett here at Medfield TV asked me a couple weeks back if I would do a drawing of a gingerbread house for him for some project that he was working on. And I was pretty excited that he asked for a gingerbread house because I immediately started thinking of my mom making gingerbread. And I don't care who you are, anytime somebody brings back a memory of your childhood hanging out with your mom doing something, that's always a welcome project. Then I'm going to put some, rats. My mom would typically put a wreath up here, so I should have done that, but I wasn't thinking. So I'm going to put 3 little peppermint candies, and then I'll go ahead and put a dot in the middle. You don't have to make that dot, but I'm just going to put it there so that you kind of see what I'm doing. I'm going to make little swirls coming in. These are just little scribbles, kind of tornado shapes, and I'm just aiming towards that center there. This one I'm going to try to make them curl a little more so that we're curling back towards that spot. And then one more of these. And again, this is just kind of a wide scribble to start, and then we're getting a little narrower as we go. So there's our peppermint candies. These look very two-dimensional right now, so I might also kind of do this, add a little more depth. Also, if you're anything like me and you're making a gingerbread house, you're going to glob on that icing to make sure that everything's staying on there, but also because that way when you eat it, look at all that icing. It's going to be delicious. So because I'm making icing here, I'm just going to kind of put blobs behind there. Now to fill in the other details, you can do it however you'd like. I'm going to make lines in my windows. Again, I'm trying to stay parallel to my edges. And then I'll make lines going across. Again, I'm attempting to stay parallel here. And then, so I mentioned my mom would typically put a wreath up in this area. If she didn't put it up near the top, she would put it on the door. So I'm going to make these. She used the green circle gumdrop things. I don't know if it's a gumdrop, but hopefully you'll know when I draw it what she... Is it a Perel? No, not a Perel. I don't know what these things are called. Some kind of gummy candy that's green and it looks like a donut. And then I'm going to make sure it's got a tiny bit more depth by doing this. Just sort of a crescent shape behind there. And then what she would do is, I think she used icing to make the bow. So I'm just going to kind of make a bow on here. Then we can put a little candy here or icing or however you'd like to make your doorknob. I'm going to make it a candy. So I put a small circle there and then I shaded kind of a crescent shape around that to make some depth on the candy so it looks like a round piece of candy. Then you can decide what else you want. One of my favorite details also on my mom's gingerbread houses as a kid was she would put a little log pile out along the edge of the house, and they were made out of Tootsie Rolls. I always thought that was pretty great. It really did look like a log pile, especially when you're like 6 or 7 years old and you're like, that looks like a delicious log pile. How did you do that, Mom? So I'm going to make one log, another log, another log, and then just coming back like this. And then she always took icing and went along the tops of the Tootsie Rolls to put a little bit of snow there. Then you can decide where you want more candy. I think I might put some, I don't know whether this would be licorice or how I would be making this, probably rope licorice maybe. So we can make some little scallop shapes on the roof. And maybe I'll do another one down here. And when you're drawing a gingerbread house, there's really no rules on how to do it, what to add. So I might put in some candies here. A lot of things when you're drawing, less is more, but I feel like if you're drawing a gingerbread house, more is more. So don't be afraid to add more details in there. So here we've got a few candies there. We can also add, a lot of times when I was a kid, I would put gumdrops on the roof. I don't know why. I never even liked gumdrops, but they were always on my roof when I made gingerbread houses. You could put some across the top. And I'll try to make them slightly smaller and look slightly closer together as we get further back. And then I'm going to do a quick scribble shading on them to make them look a little more 3D. Then you could add some more candies. I'm going to make round ones here. Again, there's no right or wrong here. Do your thing, make it however you'd like. Since I'm doing round candies, I'm doing that quick scribble shading again. Typically with a gingerbread house, once you start something on the roof, it's going to be a pattern. But again, there's no right way to make it your gingerbread house except whatever you want for your gingerbread house. We can also, let's see, we can put some more round candies different places. Put some more candies along the windows. You can also make little window ledges. I'm going to make the base for the house here, just kind of a rough square or rectangle shape. I don't want to make it perfectly shaped. And another thing I always did as a kid, again, no right or wrong way, but I always liked having candy canes to greet you at the door. So we're just going to make sort of a hook shape there. And then we'll make some stripes on our candy cane. Gingerbread houses are kind of fun to make because you can just keep adding more and more stuff. There are a few things that as you draw, you're like, what else could I add? But a gingerbread house, you can really keep going. You can decide, do you want your other candy cane facing out, or are they kind of sticking out from the house, like almost like there would be a light hanging there? I'm going to have this one curving outward. But if I had them sticking straight out from the house, this one would be curved the same direction. It would have been curving this way instead. It's the only reason why I mentioned that. So again, we'll scribble in some stripes. If you're coloring in yours at home, this part will look far more edible. And then go ahead and add any other details that you see fit. If you think this house is way too gaudy and over-decorated, by all means stop. If you say, Mike, that house needs more candy, make it happen. Add more candy to it. Add more icing. Cover the whole thing. Make it delicious. You could also put a little walkway down here if you wanted, with little bits of icing. If you're making icing, I would recommend don't make it perfectly smooth. And really these gumdrops should have all been sitting on icing, so there would be little splotches of icing along here. But get carried away with it. Put as much stuff on your house as you want. There we go. Scribble in a little more shading there for our holiday gingerbread house. Hi Mom, if you're watching. Here is our completed gingerbread house, or my completed gingerbread house. You may have kept going and gotten carried away with the decorating. That's what I always did when I was a kid. That's half the fun of making a gingerbread house. I hope you enjoyed following along and you weren't afraid to make any mistakes or anything like that. And happy holidays, everybody, and we'll see you next time for another episode of the Mike Paige Doodle Club.
All right, kids, now that you've finished your doodles, color them in and then share them with both Mike Paige and Medfield TV. We're going to take those images and we're going to put them all over our station. Can't wait to see what you guys make.